Sir, you're on deck.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm Dan Leary. I'm the Director of State Government Relations at T-Mobile, and I'm here to support legislation that would make it possible for the wireless carriers to offer better high-speed wireless broadband service across the state of Minnesota in an efficient and cost-effective manner. Wireless usage in the state and across the country has grown exponentially in recent years. Your constituents have become reliant on their mobile devices for far more than just phone calls. Data traffic flowing across wireless networks has increased 25 times since 2010, and we expect it to grow by fivefold by 2022. In addition to personal data, communities have increased their dependency on wireless networks for health and safety measures. In 2016, 260 million 911 calls were placed in the United States, 70% of which were made by wireless devices. Due to the demand, wireless carriers such as T-Mobile have been dramatically increasing the investment that we're making in our networks across the country. In Minnesota alone, we've increased our investment by 74% from 2016 to 2017, and we fully intend to continue improving our network in the state. This will include the highly anticipated 5G technology that we intend to employ both in urban and rural communities. In this last year, T-Mobile spent $8 billion in the FCC's most recent wireless spectrum auction to purchase what's known as 600 megahertz spectrum. This spectrum travels much farther than normal spectrum, and it will allow us to provide reliable wireless broadband to many more Minnesotans in smaller towns and rural areas across the state. However, there is a significant impediment that wireless carriers encounter when we are building out our networks. That impediment is exceptionally large application fees in a small number of jurisdictions. Often, a large portion of those fees that is charged to the wireless carriers goes to cover the costs of third-party consultants. Application fees in most Minnesota communities is very reasonable. For example, in Waverly, we pay just $137. In Maple Plain, we pay $1,500, and in St. Peter, we pay $3,000. However, there are a small number of communities that assess consultant fees, often in areas that need improved wireless service the most, that can range upwards of $15,000 to $20,000 for one application. These numbers are high enough to prevent T-Mobile and likely other carriers from being able to build out our networks in those areas. In addition, because the resources that we allocate are finite, when we must pay exceptionally high fees in one area, we are not able to build out and invest in other areas. Your neighbors to the south recognized this a few years back, and they did something about it. In 2013, Missouri passed a bill much like what you're considering here today, and in 2015, Iowa did the same. Our proposed legislation would limit third-party consultant fees to something that is reasonable and affordable, enabling wireless carriers to continue investing all over Minnesota. It is important to understand that this will not prevent jurisdictions from utilizing third-party consultants. We fully understand that many communities do not have the resources or expertise to evaluate wireless applications, and that many consultants help streamline these processes. However, some consultants add unnecessary assessments to applications, causing the fees passed on to the wireless carriers to skyrocket. It should be noted that this proposed legislation does not affect or alter small cell language, which was passed here last year. We would simply limit the application fees to install or replace a wireless facility on a new or existing structure to $3,000. That is all this legislation does. Minnesota deserves to have the best technology available and quality high-speed broadband wireless coverage throughout the state. This legislation will encourage wireless investment, promote economic growth, and prepare your communities for the next wave of wireless technology. Wireless customers in Minnesota, your constituents, are demanding high-speed wireless broadband technology. Now is the time to ensure that their needs are met, and I thank you for your time, and I urge you to include this legislation in your bill. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.